There's no denying it. And so you can imagine, to tell somebody this who's not really initiated into this stuff, because remember, this was 1996, and there was definitely an uptick in the efforts towards disclosure that was going on, but it certainly was not a situation where people were comfortable with this anywhere near to the extent that they are now. And imagine that I'm in this jazz band and I'm just, talking about this stuff because I'm really quite obsessed with it, as I still am. And when you start learning about these things, you're not too interested in talking about, like, traveling to other countries or trying to hook up with women or whatever. I mean, so what I ended up doing is, bringing up this stuff a lot, and my investigations, by the time I'd gotten out of college, I already probably had at least 300 books under my belt, and I was exponentially increasing my knowledge base. And by the time we were working as Rosendale Jazz Project, I'd gotten on the internet. It was really horrible. I only had a 14.4K modem, so it was like back then, things took a really long time to download. But nonetheless, you had the Art Bell Show, you had Richard Hoagland. His website was extremely, extremely popular in the early days of the internet. He had a discussion forum that was just very, very popular. And I was already writing articles on that and so forth. And so basically, I was into this really cosmic stuff. And these guys literally confronted me as a result of this rift that I was having with the bass player and him feeling that I was doing stuff that was too radical and throwing him off so he didn't sound right. And they confronted me and basically said, either you decide to go completely into jazz and spend all your time learning how to be a better jazz drummer and just do that and drop the UFOs completely, or if you want to continue doing UFOs, we don't want you in the band. And that was just such a shock. I really can't express enough when you have a group of people and you've been working with them and it seems like the creative product is really wonderful. It's such a betrayal to have somebody say that to you and know that this really beautiful thing that you've been creating is going to be taken away. But I just could not, it was ridiculous. You cannot make a deal like that with somebody. You can't say to them, well, if you want to work with us, then you're going to have to completely give up this other thing that you really love, or else we just can't have you in the band. And so I basically didn't even hesitate. When they brought this up, I said, well, look, I can't have my behavior controlled like that. I'm going to be reading this stuff. It's very important for the future of humanity, in my opinion. If this stuff is true, and I believe that it is, then I cannot have anything else more important than that in my life. How could it be? How could there be anything more important than this? And so that was it. They wanted to be a jazz band, and I wanted to be doing this, and we went in different directions. And it wasn't too long after that I ended up breaking through and having a contact with my higher self that led to the development of these psychic readings. And the readings, in turn, guided me to go to Virginia Beach, and then I went to Virginia Beach, and everybody thought I looked like Edgar Cayce. Then I found out the astrology matched, and I asked the readings, and they said, in fact, that I did have this so-called vibrational similarity with the man. And I really kind of had to set music down because things kind of took off like a whirlwind, and there's been a real planetary emergency here, and I felt like I had to intervene. And so I would buy musical gear from time to time, but never really did anything with it. And the first time I ever really did anything substantial with this arsenal of gear that I got was in 2004. I created this thing called What Is My Purpose? And I did a reading, and then I composed all the music for the background on my keyboards. And that's actually a very popular thing that we have on the site. But then Larry came along, Larry Sire, in 2005, and he's now got his own section on my website called Larry's Corner of the Cosmos. So this is a new development. I'm trying to be more open and not just have my site be strictly things that I do by myself and nothing else. Larry is coming from Course in Miracles perspective, and I actually see a great deal of connection between the Course and what's in the Law of One. And Tom, you also have a Course in Miracles background, don't you? Hello? Okay, well, providing we're still on the air, which I assume we are, I'll just continue talking, and maybe we can solve this problem if, Tom, you're not there. But anyway, as a result of all these letdowns and so forth, I got away from music for a long time. When Larry came back into view, we did Science of Peace together, and that was a 3 CD project that we sat on the shelf with for 2 years and didn't even release it. When we did release it, people really liked it. And so it wasn't until Wander Awakening came along, which was 2 years ago, that I actually decided to really get back into music all the way and perform it. And so now we've done Wander Awakening, and that's also available, where I'm actually working as a lead singer, and I had a direct impact on composing these songs. And it went over very well. So I'm quite happy with the end result. What we do at these weekend seminars is that I actually, in addition to doing my lectures, I'm performing this music. And it's been very difficult to do that because, you know, it's a whole new set of skills to have, singing in front of an audience live, et cetera, et cetera. But this last time, my pitch was almost completely on, except for when a couple times here and there, I tried some things that were fun, and they didn't always work exactly right. But my performance was a lot better, so it really was a wonderful experience. So that's all I really need to say on that. Tom, are you back on our group yet? Okay, well, again, I think that it's still recording, so I will go on and let's talk more about what's happening in today's current events. Obviously, if you haven't already seen it, I have aroused a great deal of controversy with my recent book, Disclosure Endgame.
Hey, David, I'm back.
Okay, great.
I got cut off. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I heard everything you said, though.
Oh, you could hear what I was saying?
I could hear everything, but I just couldn't talk to you. I was you had asked me the question about Course in Miracles, and,
right.
And absolutely, yeah, I totally get that. It is so like the Law of One material, and I mean, even Casey alluded to it a lot back in the day.
Certainly.
So it all fits together. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the Course is definitely part of it. There are some people who have kind of misused the Course in a sense and created splinter groups that are kind of cultish, but that does not impugn the overall value of the work itself. It just has to do with how certain people respond to what they've got. But if you actually look at the deep philosophy that's in the Law of One and what they're really saying when you keep going back around to the most important punchlines, the Course is right on point with everything. And that alone is such an astonishing correlation, such an astonishing synchronicity, that it's totally worthy of paying attention to it and figuring out, okay, what the heck is going on here? How did this happen? And that's the kind of thing that I really enjoy. I like to look for things that are, you know, mysterious correlations.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, what I was getting to was that there's a great deal of controversy that I've arisen as a result of the latest tack that I've taken with Disclosure Endgame, and then of course my interview with Benjamin Fulford. We do get some unscrupulous folks who just have nothing better to do than attack. And so our moderators do let some of those comments go up. The ones that are bombastic, we do not go up, but we do let the ones go up that are not just foaming at the mouth. Mm-hmm. And, you know, people are getting all dramatic, and they're saying, oh, my God, David has given up his spiritual focus, and he's gotten, you know, lured into this thing, and it's so sad. And it's like, okay, give me a break. You know, what's really going on here is we are actually dealing with, and this is not speculation, this is fact, we are dealing with the imminent downfall of one of the major factions that has been running this New World Order for a long time. And specifically, this is the Rockefeller faction, which has been running the Republican Party and the neocons and Fox News and the Bush administration, all this stuff. They are in free fall. We were told last year, and when I say we, I mean Project Camelot and myself, were told last year by Pete Peterson, who has good connections with them, that they were going to be functionally bankrupt as of August 27th. And that effectively did happen. It's just that once you're bankrupt, there's still a lot of things you can do to cover up for it. Now, they also were playing around with what are called gold futures and basically making these elaborate bets, which are in the form of like betting that a certain stock or whatever is going to go down, and then if it doesn't go down and it goes up instead, then you end up losing money and you have to pay back what you lost. So obviously, if you are in a position where you have a lot of power in the world and you think that you can make something go down in value and then set it up so that you're going to profit from it when it does, that's a good little system to run if you want to try to, make bank on it. But in this case, they did not have it go down the way they'd hoped it would. It went up. And it went up substantially enough that the Chinese forced them to repay what they had bet on with real gold. And what happened was that the gold they offered the Chinese as repayment was not gold. It should have been, bars of gold bullion right out of the central bank, but yet what they did is they tried to pass off this counterfeit. And these were literally bars of tungsten, which weigh almost exactly the same as gold, and then you put a little lead in, and then it weighs exactly the same. And then they just coat it with tungsten on the outside, or with gold on the outside. So you might only spend, $1,000 on one of them instead of $30,000. And they actually tried to pass this off to a country that now has greater military and economic power than they do in many ways, at least in terms of personnel and in terms of, the amount of economic control. And of course, China, immediately did an assay and drilled through the bars and saw that it was tungsten and said, this is unacceptable. So the thing that people don't realize is, there's multiple layers of correlation that are coming in. When I hear things from certain insiders who I've learned to trust, and then I see Benjamin Fulford out there, and he's talking about the same stuff, and he's got sources telling him the same thing. And then this guy, Christopher Story. Now, I will say on record that I originally had thought Christopher Story was in kind of the same category as like David Booth, who goes under the pseudonym Sorcha Fall. And Sorcha Fall will typically come out from time to time with some very crazy sounding stuff, and it gets popular and people send it around, and no matter how much work is done to tell people, hey, look, this is a sellout, this is CIA disinformation, it's not a credible source, it's the name isn't even the real name, the Sorcha Fall pieces consistently keep getting forwarded all over the place because they're so out there. And the most recent Sorcha Fall article was saying that that the Norway spiral was basically a wormhole that opened up and caused all this cold to get into the Earth and was causing all the weather problems, which is blatantly untrue. But what you want to do is look at, if you're going to see something that clearly seems to be disinformation, then what you want to do is look at it and see, okay, what are they really going for here? What are they really trying to say? And if they're giving you this piece of disinformation, then what is the information they don't want you to have?
Right.
So one of the things that I pointed out in Disclosure Endgame, which Fulford doesn't even see this, but Christopher Story does, and some of the sources that I'm in contact with do, is isn't it interesting that when you have all this propaganda that's going on, all this stuff where, in fact, if you go to a site like, any of the top conspiracy websites, and you read the articles, and then you go and you turn on Fox News, which we know is compromised, they're saying almost exactly the same stuff. And everybody is just foaming at the mouth, ranting mad at Obama, and thinks that he's got to go, and he's this, and he's that, and I have never in my entire life on the internet taken anywhere near 0.1% the amount of vitriolic, foaming at the mouth hate from people that I have in simply trying to present a different side of the story than what you get drummed into your head every day when you go to these conspiracy websites.